Deep dives and blue skies. Welcome back to Talking Blue with Nick, the best Dodgers analytical podcast that you can find. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Talking Blue, the best Dodgers analytical podcast that you can find. I'll be your host, Nick. Today, we're going to preview the Dodgers Athletics series, which will be going on this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Athletics are a pretty young team, decent team, so before we get started with that, this podcast, as always, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow us on social media at Talking Blue Pod. We're on X, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok. Also make YouTube shorts, so a lot of short videos. Follow my personal X at Talking Blue Nick. Follow us on Reddit at competitive-week8715. The Talking Blue logos are all over there, so you can't miss it. Be a fairly quick preview series. Just like the previous preview series that I did, the Diamondbacks, the Athletics starters are not announced yet at the time that I'm recording this. The Dodgers are. It'll be Knack Tuesday, Yamamoto Wednesday, Sasaki on Thursday. So the Dodgers continue to move up their starters a day, not going with the sixth man or 6 days of rest. Yamamoto has been previously pitching on Fridays. He pitched last week on Thursday. He'll pitch Wednesday now, so he continues to get a move up. Same with Sasaki. Hopefully that bodes well for them because some people thought that might have been a reason why they were struggling. Athletics are a decent team. They're one game above 500. They're in third place. 21-20 is their record. So they're a decent offensive team, a certain kind of approach, and they're an all right pitching team. So offensively, the Athletics are fifth in batting average, but they are 18th in on-base percentage, and they are 6th in slugging percentage. They are 7th in home runs, but they have the 7th lowest walk percentage, and the 4th least amount of strikeouts. Are one of the most aggressive lineups in baseball. They are 3rd in zone swing percentage, 3rd in first pitch swing percentage, and 4th in overall swing percentage. So zone swing percentage means they swing the bat 3rd most at pitches in the zone. So they're aggressive when it comes to strikes and pitches in the strike zone. Obviously, first pitch swing percentage, they swing at the first pitch a lot. And then overall swing percentage, they just swing the bat. And they're actually not a bad team when it comes to their plate discipline and chase numbers. They also are one of the worst teams in baseball when it comes to defense, and they're definitely the worst in the American League. So they're a bad defensive team. On the pitching side, they have the 6th worst team ERA in baseball, and they have the 2nd most walks allowed. So their pitching is not that great. They have a couple of good relievers, of course. Mason Miller throws one of the hardest fastballs in the game. They're an aggressive lineup who actually doesn't strike out too much, but they don't walk too much. So they're kind of an interesting team. One of their really good young players, Jacob Wilson, is their shortstop. He's one of the best contact hitters in the game, but also is one of the worst hitters in the game when it comes to walking. So they have a lot of hitters who make contact and don't strike out, but none of them walk and get on base a lot. So that's why they have a high batting average but a low on base. Fairly decent lineup. They do have some pop, pretty aggressive. They make contact, but like I said, they don't walk a lot. So that could help out the Dodgers pitching staff. When it comes to the probable pitchers for the Athletics, from what I can muster up, it looks like it'll be Jeffrey Springs in Game 1. He's a left-hander who used to pitch for the Rays. Then it will be Gunnar Hoagland, a right-hander who's only pitched about 11 innings this year. And then Oswaldo Bido. That's another young right-hander. It looks like that will be the pitching matchup. But like I said, that could change. So I won't go too deep into that just in case something changes. But right away, we'll go into what will be Game 1. Knack, Jeffrey Springs, left-hander. Of course, naturally better against left-handers, not as great against right-handers. The Dodgers have not hit as good against left-handers this year, but they do have guys who traditionally hit better against lefties like Mookie, like Will Smith. Obviously, Teoscar and Edman not being in the lineup hurt them there, but as well as Andy Pages has been better earlier in his career. Jeffrey Springs, pretty solid pitcher. He's got an ERA of 4.8 this year, but he's one of the best pitchers in baseball when it comes to not allowing hard contact and average exit velocity. so he's not getting hit hard too much. He's got a fastball that gets hit around a lot. It's four-seam fastball, but he's got a pretty good slider and changeup. So all three of the pitchers actually for the Athletics throw a lot of changeups. So the Dodgers are going to see a lot of changeups in this series. When it comes to the Dodgers offensively against Springs, because his fastball is not very good, guys like Shohei and Freddie, of course, but Mookie also match up well against him, as well as Will Smith. Muncy and Conforto probably won't be in there. Andy Pages also is a fairly good fastball hitter. Sung Kim, who actually we're now getting more numbers on, has been a pretty good fastball hitter early on in the first few games that he's played, but he probably will not be in there against a lefty. So in this game against Springs, I'm going to pick Mookie Betts and Will Smith as my 2 home run picks. Mookie's been heating up, usually is better against lefties. He's a good fastball hitter, not a bad hitter against changeups. Now, he's not good against sliders. Jeffrey Springs is left-handed, so I think that will help out Mookie. And he's been heating up lately. There's a lot of good numbers on him lately. And then Will Smith as well has been hitting very well. Has not been hitting for too much power, but he's not striking out, putting the ball in play, hitting the ball hard. Again, he's very good against lefties. He's a good fastball hitter. He's also hitting over 400 against changeups, fairly well against sliders and curveballs. So I think Mookie and Will Smith match up well against Jeffrey Springs. That's going to be my picks for game 1. Now, when it comes to Landon Knack and the Athletics offense, the Athletics have a fairly decent offense. So like I said, when it comes to their lineup, their best hitter so far has been Jacob Wilson, a young shortstop. They are a very young team. He makes a lot of contact, does not strike out. He's up there with Luis Arraez and Steven Kwan and Mookie Betts as guys who make contact and don't strike out. Brent Rooker has been there for a couple years now, big-time power hitter. Then Tyler Soderstrom is another young hitter, young position player. He was a catcher, then played first. Now they've moved him to left field. But he's left-handed. He's a very good hitter. Shea Langolier is another catcher who has been getting better ever since he's been in Oakland. He had a good year last year, and he's had good numbers this year. Lawrence Butler, who kind of broke out last year, was a really good player. Has not been as great this year. Galen Duhar is a solid hitter. He's kind of resurrected his career with the Athletics. J.J. Bleday has not been good this year. And then their young first baseman, Nick Kurtz, has not been great so far. Landon Knack's best pitch has usually been his changeup. Also has a very good four-seam fastball. He's one of those IVB guys. So when it comes to fastballs, the Athletics are pretty split. Andujar and Soderstrom and Wilson are very good hitters. You're going to see Soderstrom and Wilson on there a lot when it comes to most pitches. They're 2 good hitters. But Brent Rooker, Kurtz, Langoliers, Bleday, and Lawrence are all bad against fastballs. And when it comes to changeups, they don't really have anyone who hits changeups good. So I think Landon Knack could have one of his best starts so far this year because of the way the Athletics match up against him. So I think it's a fairly decent matchup for Landon Knack. Sometimes Landon Knack can give up some homers, and like I said, the Oakland A's have some guys with some pop, like Soderstrom, like Brent Rooker, so he's got to be careful, Langoliers. But when it comes to his very good four-seam fastball upstairs, and then he also has a good changeup, I think he can pitch pretty good against Oakland. Go to game 2, which will be Yoshinobu Yamamoto versus Gunnar Hoagland. Now, of course, you probably don't know much about him. He's a young right-hander. He's only pitched in 11 innings this year. Another guy that has a good changeup. So he is right-handed. Better against left-handers, again, because of his good changeup. So right-handers hit 381 against Hoagland, which is massive, but left-handers only hit 136. He goes 43% four-seamer. He's got 17% changeup. Then he has a sweeper, a sinker, and a slider. Again, like I said, his changeup has a batting average against of 222 and an expected batting average of 160. And his four-seam fastball has also been very good. It's got a batting average against of 111. Now, his slider, sinker, and sweeper are all not as good. His sweeper has a batting average against a 400. The sinker has a batting average against a 500. The slider is 333. So he's got a good four-seam changeup mix, but the other pitches not so much. In this game, I'm going with Andy Pages and Max Muncy as my home run picks. Pages, like I said, this year has been better against righties, and he's also a good hitter when it comes to sliders and stuff like that. He has a 288 expected batting average against sliders, and he's also been a pretty good four-seam hitter. Now, not as great against changeups and sinkers, which could worry me, but thought I'd pick Paz. He's continued to be really good, and I think he takes Hoagland deep. And then I'll pick Max Muncy, like I said. Usually is a good fastball hitter and does kind of hold his own against changeups. And just thought I'd pick him. Don't want to pick Shohei and Freddie. They're obviously red hot, so I'm trying to go outside the box. So I'll pick Andy and Muncy. I think they have a fairly good shot. But like I said, Hoagland looks like a decent pitcher. He's got an ERA of 2.38. Not striking out a ton of batters, but like I said, he's got a good four-seam, good changeup mix. So all three pitchers, like I said, have good changeups in this series. So then when it comes to Yamamoto, of course, struggled last time against the Diamondbacks. That was the first time we've really seen him struggle. So they have a couple guys who have hit good against splitters, Wilson, Soderstrom, and Lawrence. But guys like Seth Brown, J.J. Bleday, Kurtz, and Rooker are all bad against the splitter. Said they're kind of split when it comes to four-seamers. And when it comes to curveballs, only Wilson and Gio Urshela are good against curveballs. Everyone else is not good. So good matchup for Yamamoto. Again, Yamamoto is one of the best pitchers in baseball, so nobody's really a good matchup for him. And I also think that they're a team that doesn't walk a lot, so he pounds the strike zone, so that will help him out. They're fairly aggressive, so might not be a game where he racks up a lot of strikeouts, but it could be a game where he goes fairly deep into the game because of early on in the game he has a good pitch count, stuff like that. So I think Yamamoto will bounce back in this game again. Maybe he won't have like a 10 strikeout performance, but maybe he could go into the 7th inning because the Athletics are putting the ball in play. Then we'll go to Game 3. It'll be Roki Sasaki versus Oswaldo Bido. Like I said, he's a young right-hander. He's been in the big leagues for a couple years now, throws pretty hard, sinker baller. Goes four-seamer, 40%, slider, 22%. Also has a sinker and a changeup and a cutter. So a lot of these pitchers have a pretty big repertoire when it comes to how many pitches they throw and stuff like that. So against Bido, I'm going to pick Freddie Freeman and Michael Conforto. Didn't want to pick any of the other guys that I already picked. And like I said, tried to stay away from Freddie and Shohei, but Freddie matches up well against Bido. And then Conforto, I thought his at-bats looked a little bit better in Arizona, so I'm picking him. He hasn't gone deep in a long time. I'll take Freddie and I'll take Conforto. And then lastly, we'll talk about Sasaki. Again, like I said, Oakland does not walk a lot, and they're pretty aggressive. So I think that could help Sasaki. This was my thinking against the Texas Rangers. I'll go out and say that I think Sasaki is going to bounce back and have one of his better performances. Again, the Oakland Athletics don't have a scary offense, but I like that Sasaki, as long as he's in the zone or close to the zone, the Athletics are going to be swinging, so I think that bodes well for him. Maybe it will lead to some swing and miss. Again, they don't swing and miss too much, so I wouldn't look for that. But they're, like I said, they're not a team that hits too great against four-seam fastballs, and we know Sasaki has had his struggles with four-seamers. And then they also don't have too many guys who have had success against splitters, and I think that can help Sasaki. So hopefully Sasaki can bounce back against this Athletics team. So that's pretty much it. Pretty quick series preview. Like I said, we'll close it out. Athletics have a pretty decent offense. They're kind of all over the place. Like I said, they're aggressive. They do put the ball in play. They have some pop, but they don't walk at all, don't have good on-base numbers and stuff like that. They are very bad defensively, so that can help the Dodgers out. Maybe the Athletics have some misplayed balls and stuff like that. And then, like I said, on the pitching side, they're not too dominant. Have some decent pitching, but some decent guys in the bullpen. But other than that, not a scary pitching staff. So I think that the Dodgers will continue to hit and put some rallies together, and hopefully they can put together a pretty good series against the Athletics. So that's all I have for you guys. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed. Give some predictions down in the comments for me if you like. Tell me who you think's going deep, who you think's going to perform well, stuff like that. How did the Dodgers do? As always, you can get this podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us at Talking Blue Pod on all social media. Follow myself at Talking Blue Nick on X. You can follow us on Reddit at competitive-week8715. Thank you guys for listening. We'll see you guys at the conclusion of this series on Thursday.